I was at the game over the weekend. I was at Oxford, Mississippi. I was at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Took that 4-hour drive. I was there. I took everything in. It was the most craziest, weird, unexpected type of football game I've seen in quite some time. I was disappointed at a number of different things. First and foremost, the food. I was expecting more from the state of Mississippi. I was expecting some fried chicken. I was expecting some macaroni and cheese. I was expecting maybe a little mashed potatoes. And I got a boxed lunch like I was a 12-year-old going to the 6th grade. I'm almost 30 years old, and they gave me a boxed lunch. So I was not happy with that ordeal whatsoever, let me tell you. But here's the main thing, people, and it is not often where I am wrong or I miss on something when it comes to Alabama football. Most of the time, if I give out information or if I see information, I'm spot on with it, thankfully. But in the moments where I mess up, in the moments where I do whiff, in the moments where I don't hit it as accurately as I would like to, I am a man of owning up to that. I own up to it. And in the case of Pete Golding, hey, I was wrong on that. I whiffed on that. I made a egregious mistake on that right there. I literally thought that, Pete Golding, him being, young guy and seeing how Alabama, Nick Saban brought in Kirby Smart young and trained him up and taught him some things and developed him and groomed him, and we saw what Kirby Smart became. I thought the same thing, could very much so being well there for Pete Golding, but that has not been the case through 16 games of him being a full-time defensive coordinator for Alabama, 13 games last year, of course 3 games this year. And the game of football in 2019-2020 is vastly different than what it was in 2008. In 2008, Nick Saban could afford to gamble on a young defensive coach because he was trying to build a culture at Alabama, or he was trying to reestablish a dominant culture that was once at Alabama prior to the struggles coming in. So when that happens, when you're trying to build something, you can afford to take a gamble on a young coach. But when you are on the top of the mountain, and when you are built, and when you are established, and when you are arguably one of the best programs, if not the best program in college football, you can't really afford to gamble unless you know that particular coach is going to hit for your respective program. It's kind of like recruiting in a way. When you're bringing your first recruiting class in, you can afford to gamble and have some players that may not pop the way you want them to pop, right? But when you become a fully established program, you spend a lot of your time, making sure we're getting these transcendent, these big time names that are going to, pop in the program. And when you are facing an offensive-minded coach, an offensive-minded tactician like Lane Kiffin, and as I mentioned on the show last week, when it comes to Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin is not one of your average former Saban assistants. Like, for most Saban assistants, it's wishful thinking. Maybe we'll beat Coach Saban. Possibly we'll beat Coach Saban. We may have a shot. Maybe a ball may bounce our way. Maybe we get a turnover or two. It's a lot of wishful thinking with other coaches when it comes to Nick Saban. With Lane Kiffin, it's bump that. He elderly. He ain't what he used to be. He kind of old, decrepit now. This ain't the same Nick Saban that he once was. He ain't the king of the block that he used to be. Like, I can take Nick Saban. I can get Nick Saban. I can beat Nick Saban. He ain't pimping now like he used to be pimping. Like, I can take Coach Nick. Coach Nick now is like Michael Jordan when he was wearing number 45 instead of 23. When MJ was 23, he was soaring through the air. You couldn't touch him. He wasn't human. When MJ was 45, shucks, I could take MJ. He ain't nothing to me. And that's how Lane Kiffin is right now. He's got that confidence when it comes to facing Coach Saban, and very few coaches have that type of confidence. And when you're playing against a tactician like him, you got to have a savvy, veteran, seasoned leader, seasoned guy, running this defense to, at least at the bare minimum, limit these new-aged offenses that are in here where college football is concerned. And Pete Golding in this matchup got ate up, chewed up, and spat back out there by Lane Kiffin in this matchup. Now, of course, Pete Golding came in at a time where Alabama was losing a lot of its marquee ace defensive coaches, right? From 2016 to 2018, there was the mass exodus of coaches. Kirby Smart left, Jeremy Pruitt left, Derek Ansley left, Mel Tucker left, and then their assistants with them left. And when that happened, of course, U.S. Tide Nation went, what in the world is going on? Do these coaches not like being here? Do they not like Coach Saban? Do they not like being at Bama? What's going on? What's going on? Why are they leaving? We didn't lost so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and he was a great coach. He was a great teacher. He was a great recruiter. He was a great communicator and defensive mind. Like, why are we losing all of his coaches? And in the aftermath of losing those coaches, not only did it affect the 2018 and 2019 recruiting classes for the Crimson Tide, but it also affected Nick Saban to a point where he has yet to sort of rebound and get that elite defensive savvy, seasoned veteran mind that he needs in terms of coaching these players. And he's tried to have two young guys do it. He tried with Tosh Lapoy in 2018. Unfortunately, it did not work. Alabama got taken to the woodshed by Clemson 44-16 in the 2019 national championship game off the 18 season. And but of course, he's trying it with Pete Golding through 16 games. You're still seeing a lot of confusion there on the field. And for a lot of people out there, it's, well, you can't blame it all on the coach. It's not all on the coach's fault. Players have to do certain things. Players have to tackle. Players are going to play with energy. They got to be enthusiastic. They got to do their job on the field. And yes, 100%. I agree with you. There are some things that players have to do, most definitely. But I'm watching this game from a bird's eye view inside of Vaught-Hemingway Stadium, and I am seeing situations where guys are not understanding what the play call is. They're looking lost in translation. They're looking over at the sideline. They're not knowing where to be. And there was a moment where players are not being sure of themselves on the field, and they're guessing and gambling instead of playing with confidence, and that's coaching. And there was a moment where in the game, Coach Saban was caught on video going nuclear on Pete Golding, literally giving Pete Golding one of the infamous, famous butt chewings. He's going nuclear there on Coach Golding. There was one point in the game, I believe Nick Saban ran out of cuss words to say. And that's messed up. That's how you know Coach Saban is mad. When he runs out of cuss words to say, on the field. I mean, there was a point in the game where I was frustrated to the point where I made one tweet. And my tweet was, Alabama's offense, praise Jesus, hallelujah. Alabama's defense, may God have mercy on my soul. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Lord, hold my liquor. That was the tweet I made at one point in the game because I myself got, frustrated just sitting there, looking at that. And watching that. And this is no offense to Alabama's offense. Alabama's offense is fantastic right now. This is not a negative slight or connotation towards Mac Jones, Steve Sarkisian. Everybody affiliated with the offensive side of the football, Bama fans are proud of those guys. The offense is playing exquisitely fantastic football. However, all I'm saying is, for you guys as fans and I myself in the media, this is Pavlov's dogs, classical conditioning, right? We've been psychologically trained since birth or from whatever time our Alabama fandom began to look at Alabama as defense first, defensive oriented, defensively, we are taught that defense is what runs the Crimson Tide. And when you're not seeing the defense out there being dominant, it really sort of bothers you and shakes you the wrong way, because we all kind of go back to one of the first statements Nick Saban said in 2007 when he became the head coach. We're going to give you a product that you, the fans, can be proud of. And over the weekend, nobody in their right mind can say that they're happy about that defensive product. You're not happy with the defensive product. And like I said, I understand there are things that players have to do on the field, but there's also things that coaching has to get done on the field also. And when you have Saban upset, fans upset, former players visibly upset, something's got to be done here. In times past, the players had a come to Jesus meeting, but today I don't think it was a come to Jesus meeting. I think it was a fire and brimstone meeting. Coach Saban was in there cutting folks up, saying, hey, either we getting down with the get down and getting right, or you can get the heck up out the door. I think Saban was going in there fire and brimstone for real. But the question that a lot of you have to ask is Charlie Strong the guy? Do we finally look at Charlie Strong here as the DC? And in the case of Charlie Strong, he was brought in back in the spring as a defensive analyst. I don't think he would have taken the job if not for a conversation with Coach Saban at some point. Could he have an opportunity to maybe even run the defense? So Charlie Strong was brought in back in the spring as a defensive analyst. And at 60 years old, Coach Strong, he has yet to coordinate, operate, run a defense in this decade against these new-aged offenses that we're facing. He's yet to coordinate a defense in this decade. He's had some tenure here as a head coach in this decade. 2010 to 2013, he was at Louisville, and that was fruitful for him with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. However, his time at Texas and South Florida were not as fruitful. However, in a recent decade, when he was just a primary defensive coordinator, Charlie Strong had big success, a lot of success, at the University of Florida under Urban Meyer, winning national championships in 2006 and 2008, having a lot of those players, or positioned a lot of those players, as I should say, to go to the NFL. The 2006 season, that defense at Florida gave up 13.5 points per game. 2008, it gave up 12.9 points per contest. So Charlie Strong has a reputation of being just a big-time veteran, seasoned defensive mind. And although it's kind of high risk, high reward with him at this point, because once again, he has not coordinated a defense in this era, for a lot of you as fans, there's got to be something other than Coach Golding right now. There's got to be something other that we could go to than Coach Golding, because there were so many tweets after the game, not just fire Pete Golding, but Coach Saban, do to Coach Golding what you did to Lane Kiffin, fire him off the tarmac, something like that. There was a lot of people that were disappointed with this performance, just going back to, we have been psychologically trained, as consumers of Tide football, that defense first, defense sets the tone, defense oriented, and when the defense is not where it needs to be at, there is a lot of concern there. So is it time for Charlie Strong? Do you guys still think Alabama can pull this together with Pete Golding? Want to hear your thoughts right now as we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that thing. We're just getting started here on the show. Upon our return, we will get to your phone calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your concerns, your events right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up. Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care, in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99, and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at Emily'sHeirloomPoundCakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.